We're excited to announce the first ever, first of its kind higher education podcast conference brought to you by Edu Alliance, the EdUp Experience, and Podium. This is happening Saturday, July 12th at the University of Illinois Chicago campus. This is an in-person event, one day only, the first of its kind. This is for people working in and around higher education who are interested in starting a podcast, who may have a podcast, want to learn more about podcasting. So if you want to be there, please go to higheredpodcon.com. That's higheredpodcon.com to learn how you can get your early bird registration, see who the keynote will be, and how you can submit proposals to be a part of this amazing inaugural conference. So that, again, go to higheredpodcon.com to learn more. Do you want to get invites to special events? Do you want to get exclusive early access to ad-free episodes, extended episodes, bonus episodes, behind-the-scenes episodes, and original content? Do you want to accelerate your professional development? Well, you can go to edupexperience.com. That's EDUP experience.com and become a subscriber today.
Welcome back, everybody. It's your time to ed up on the EdUp Experience podcast, where we make education your business. This is Dr. Joe Salustio back with you again. And I want to remind the audience, if you've been listening to these episodes as of late, we are trying to notify our audience of a new feature that we have here at the EdUp Experience podcast. And I've told this story a couple times. I'll say it again to you today. I wrote this article, which I thought was really good. And I've written for trade publications many, many, many times. But this particular article, which I thought was better, probably better than most of the ones I had written, I went to the trade pubs and none of them wanted it. None of them wanted to take my article. And I said, this sucks. I'm like begging for somebody to take my article and publish it. So Elvin and I talked, of course, Elvin Freites, co-founder of the EdUp Experience podcast, and we said, why aren't we publishing episodes? We have a website. We have all these podcasts. People have written for us before. Ask us. We have an audience of subscribers. We have an audience of a huge email list. Why don't we start publishing articles for our colleagues across higher ed? So we created EdUp Editorials, which is an extension of our site. And at EdUp Editorials, when you send us an article, we will publish it for you. Maybe you're writing about something good. It doesn't have an angle. I mean, maybe the angle is that we just have a challenge we're overcoming in higher education. It's good content. We got to get it out there. If it's a positive angle, maybe there's a new program that's exploding at your university that you want to tell us about, we'll publish it. We'll send it to our worldwide audience that we have here at EdUp. That's EdUp Editorials, and you can submit your article to edup at edupexperience.com. If there is not enough edups and all of that, I don't know. We'll find more. But edup at edupexperience.com. Get out your pen and paper if you're old school, or your typewriter, if you're really old school, or your computer, and write an article, and we'll publish it and push it out. And we want your content. So write for us, and we'll tell your story. And it's another thing we try to do here at the podcast, at the company, to tell the story of higher education, which is a really important part of how we restore the value in the college degree, how we make sure that our institutions stay relevant. We have to tell the story. And we've got somebody here who's going to tell us a great story about a great university today. I'm going to bring her in right now. I'm going to have to tell the audience just to tone it down a little bit. So we're going to go with a medium applause today. Ladies and gentlemen, she's Dr. Amy Bragg Carey. She's president at Friends University. Amy, how are you? Welcome to an EdUp Mic.
Thank you. I'm doing very well. Looking forward to speaking with you.
Well, we're looking forward to having a great conversation with you today. We always like to talk when our people are listening to this. There's so many colleges and universities out there. We have to kind of put some geography around things. So where are you? Where's Friends University located? Who do you serve, and how do you serve them?
Well, we're in Wichita, Kansas, right smack dab in the middle of the United States. And Friends University has been around for 125 years. We are an institution that serves undergraduate and graduate students. Just launched our first doctoral program this fall. And we serve students from around the surrounding states. Right now, about 55% of our students come from outstate of Kansas, outside of Kansas. And that's been a shift over the last several years. So we like to say that we are an importer of talent into the Wichita area, and we have a lot of businesses and companies that are looking for our graduates and wanting them to stay here in Wichita. So that's an important aspect of what we do at Friends.
Yeah, local economy is important, right? One of the things that we don't talk enough about for private institutions, I think public institutions do a great job of talking about it, is the economy, is the impact that graduates can have on the state, on the city in particular. And when you look at a town, city like Wichita, where I know that the state government and the city government wants people to move to Wichita, to stay in Wichita, to help the economy in Wichita. Can you talk a little bit about the business and industry partnership and the impact that Friends University graduates have on the area?
Yes, we are the air capital of the world in Wichita, Kansas, with a number of manufacturing companies from Spirit to Textron. We have NIAR, which is a defense contracting big venture really with Wichita State University, but they have many other employees there as well. And so a number of engineering companies in the area, manufacturing, of course, and so this has been growing. This area has been growing over the last several years, and we actually were approached by businesses to start a couple of different programs here at Friends University, and one was our cybersecurity program. McConnell Air Force Base, which is in this area, has an intelligence wing, and they need many more people to join them in the cybersecurity, cyber defense area from military and civilian. And so we started that program. And then engineering, mechanical engineering is a new program for us here as well. So we do what we can to respond to the community and the needs of our community. And oftentimes we have businesses coming to us looking to see what we could do to provide more graduates in a certain area. Sometimes we're able to accommodate, sometimes not. But we like to be pretty nimble here at Friends, and that has worked well for us to add these programs, and we call them market demand programs that serve our local area. We talk a lot about workforce development in the Wichita area and Kansas. That's really important to Kansans, and so we need to be mindful of that and talk about how we are preparing students to enter the workforce. It's an important part of what we do at Friends and in private higher education.
Oh, yeah.
I love it, and I love the air capital of the world or of the country, because I've been there and Wichita many times and understand it, right? Because there are a lot of air manufacturing and servicing companies that are there. What about what are you hearing on the new technology front when it comes to, because you're in that city? Is there drone technology talk? Is there what are those industries saying about the future? You probably have more insight than most into the way people are talking about what's going on for the future. Right, we hear drones. Like, did you see one yesterday? Did you see one last night? All these drones are flying around everywhere. They're unmanned, unmanned drones, unmanned vehicles. Everything's sort of unmanned these days. What's the industry saying around the future of flight?
Well, I'm not sure that I have the insight on the future of flight as it relates to.
You don't have security clearance,
but
Amy?
I have no.
All right.
No, when I go over to McConnell Air Force Base and into the intelligence wings, all the screens go dark. And there's a big blue light that says this person has no clearance and cannot see what's on the screens. However, I will say that from cybersecurity perspective, we've had several companies come into the Wichita area, and Wichita has been working hard to recruit some companies from Silicon Valley to come where, the cost of living is much, much lower. And what we hear from these employers is that they get great employees because of the ethics, the work value that we have here in this area. So Nomadics and Novacos have been a couple of companies that have come into the area, and we partner with them directly, and they snatch up a good number of our students.
Yeah, I bet there's a lot, because when a company comes into a town where there are people who want to work, those people work really hard when those jobs come in. So you can end up with a great workforce. So that's such a positive. One of the things you mentioned is that you started a new doctoral program. And it's not often where an institution who doesn't have doctoral programs goes into those doctoral programs, and we happen to catch somebody right at the beginning of it. And it sounds really easy. Like, if I'm just a casual listener and, you started a doctoral program, no problem. Just go ahead and do it. Can you talk about what that takes? What are the conversations like? Were they mission-based conversations? Were they, like strategy-based conversations? And then how did you decide to execute upon a doctoral program? And what were some of the bits and pieces that you had to consider to bring it all together? And what is the program?
So our program is doctorate in soul care and Christian formation. And so we are a national leader in Christian spiritual formation with the work of our professor, Dr. James Bryan Smith, who is a leader in this field. And we've had, we're kind of building off of other professors who have been at Friends University leading the way in this area for some time. And so we have a master's in Christian spiritual formation and leadership, and we're getting some interest in a doctoral program. And so this for us is both missional and strategic, but it seemed like the right next step for us. We had someone that was interested in leading the program, Dr. AJ Sabota, who is author, speaker, someone well known in this space. And that was kind of an important step for us, is to have someone that would be really qualified, well known, and could draw people from all over the country for this program. And so we launched it this fall, and we actually exceeded our goal for the number in our cohort, and looks like we will be at goal again for next fall. Already have great numbers. So I think it's that combination of strength and leadership in a certain area, and interest and demand, and putting all of those things together. And it felt like this was the right first doctoral program for Friends University.
Why didn't you start with, business or, because you start to think about, how do I decide what to offer? And you kind of hit on some of the components that you have to have the right faculty, you have to have the right mix environment, and why not do something that everybody else has been doing? Business or,
Right.
doctor, DBA seems kind of easy.
Yes, there's quite a bit of competition in this local area for a doctorate in a business field. So we have considered that, and I think we do have talented faculty that could provide that program. I think, me personally, I just wasn't sure that we could get the numbers that we needed consistently year over year for that program. However, we are starting to talk about, is there another doctoral program that we might want to consider that fits well for us? There is quite a bit of competition, not just here in Wichita and Kansas, but nationally. And so as you're looking at these programs, particularly ones that you want to draw from, not just the region, but broader than that, we have to factor in all of those things. So, so we haven't moved forward with any other doctoral programs, just that one at this point.
The reason I ask, I was sort of asking sarcastically, but I think it's differentiation that matters so much right now. Like,
right.
What are we really good at? And what do we know that separates us out from our competition that we can gain some value from versus, when you start stepping into these programs where the market's really competitive, especially if it's offered online, you have a whole marketing infrastructure that you have to put into place. And differentiation starts to cloud. So I really like the way you're thinking about how do we stay unique, right?
Well, and what we have discovered is that we have some certain lanes where we are excellent and have some credibility, have maybe some national market share in a few different programs. We're the national leader in zoo science. So if you're interested
Oh,
in zoo science,
nice.
come to Friends University. So we get students from all over the country for that program. And then because of that, we've started conservation science because a number of students that are interested in zoo science are also interested in conserving the species, conserving and stewarding our land and all of that. And um, so because of that strength and expertise in zoo science, we felt like we could move into conservation science. So we try to find those solid lanes and build on that. And that has worked very well for us. And Christian spiritual formation is one of those lanes. Also, marriage and family therapy. We not only have a program here in Wichita, but in Kansas City as well. And we've been expanding there. So that's how we try to look at things. And you're right, so much competition and so difficult because with online programs and things that are offered throughout the country to differentiate yourself. So how do we do that and do that well and do these programs there where we have some strength and excellence?
How big is I've talked to so many presidents about the value of higher ed and that conversation that continues to kind of evolve in front of us. What do you hear from students, or what are you seeing? Is the competition institutional? Is the competition whether to get a degree at all or not coming from the high schools? You know, because I know you do. I remember Friends University doing a lot of recruitment for the local high schools into the undergraduate programs and so on. Where's the bigger competition? Is it actually getting students to the pipeline, or is it other institutions, or both?
I think in this area, cost is a major factor. And for whatever reason, people in Wichita and in Kansas just are not as likely to want to spend significant money on college education. And they really don't have to in many ways because there are so many junior colleges, community colleges here in Kansas that offer a variety of programs. You can live on campus and you could be in a choir or a show choir and participate in the band or something else, athletics. And it's at a very, very low cost. So that kind of sets the bar, right? That you could go at least for a 2-year program, and if you get a Pell Grant, maybe you aren't going to pay much of anything for your education. So that's a huge factor that we're always up against here in Kansas in this area, and then the popularity of public education. So Wichita State is very popular in this area. So when we're recruiting students, usually they've already made the decision that they're going to a 4-year institution or they're going to transfer to a 4-year institution. And for many of our students, they're looking to participate in something. So participate in sports or participate in fine arts. There's something more that they want to do when they're on campus. And so our biggest challenge is to help them see that this could be an affordable option for them, and looking at how they could maybe they do go to a community college for a couple of years and then transfer if it's just not financially feasible, and that's fine too. So typically we're up against the community colleges and the state schools in this area. From time to time, we have people looking at other private institutions and comparing the costs between Friends and that institution. And I think that's true probably across the country. The publics are the big competitor.
Do you find that, when we talk about this value of higher ed conversation, a lot of times we've distilled the A to B. We've distilled it down to A to B. A, education, B, get a job, right? And so this direct pathway toward a job. I'm hearing you say a little bit that students are looking for other types of involvement, maybe in addition to that A to B through line, because who would say, no, I don't want a job when I graduate? I don't think anybody ever says that. But we've done, and I say we, the industry, those around that have talked about higher ed, where you just have to have this direct financial through line all the time. And we've forgotten about, or maybe not highlighted enough of, the intangibles, the I don't know, the experiential learning, the societal learning, the involvement. If you're hearing that from students, is that common for them to say, I want something else? I want this too, but I'm looking for this other involvement, participatory involvement.
Higher Ed PodCon is coming. Go to higheredpodcon.com. That's higheredpodcon.com to learn more. Do you want to accelerate your professional development? Do you want to get exclusive early access to ad-free episodes, extended episodes, bonus episodes, original content? That's right, original content, invites to special events, and more? Do you want to get all this while helping to sustain EdUp? Then go to edupexperience.com. That's EDUP experience.com and subscribe today.
Well, we scholarship here at Friends. We're NAIA Division II, so we scholarship for athletics and also for participation in fine arts. And so that is often a driver for students, and their interest is, can I get a scholarship to participate in a sport or be a part of an ensemble? And I think that for many students, and the sports culture is so strong in the United States. It's just so strong. And students want to continue to be involved in what they have loved to do in high school. They love their sport, their team, all of that matters so much to them. The parents have gone to, weekend after weekend, watching them play in different types of team sports, and they really want to see that continue into their college experience. So I think for us, for what we offer students, that's a big part of why students choose Friends University. We also focus on the experiential learning, and I would say in the last 5 years, we've been much more intentional about sharing the different kinds of things that students can do. So we have an investment program where students get real money from our endowment that they invest in the market and then share their results with our investment committee of the board.
That's
and
awesome.
it's a great experience. We were the first in Wichita to offer this to students. Well, even non-business majors are participating in this program. That's just one example of some of the hands-on learning opportunities. We've just announced a new center for business, and it's called Center for Enterprise and Community Engagement. And it's all about experiential learning. And there's a group that's working with the city of Belle Plaine, for a variety of projects. And so I think students want to see themselves at the university, and then what are they going to be doing? What's their experience going to be like? Participating on a team, involved in different clubs and organizations. So to the extent that colleges and universities can share that with students for the type of school that we are here at Friends, that's really, really important. And of course, they want a job, and mom and dad really want them to get a job for
Get out
sure.
of the house.
Get out of the house, get a job. And so, we talk about internship for all, making sure that every student gets an internship and gets engaged in career fairs. And we have many more career fairs than we did years ago. And part of that is the interest of the employers. They want to be on campus and recruit students and come right to campus and fill out their recruiting. So all of those things, I think, are part of the talking points that we're, focused on, and I'm sure many other universities are as well.
Now, one of the things I know about Friends University is that you do have a particular affinity or created pathways for adult learners, for adult students. And can you talk about that a little bit? Because, sometimes I feel like the as much as we talk about adult learners or the modern learner these days, it still gets lost in the traditional infrastructure of higher education in those conversations. What have you done at Friends to serve that market, which is just an important market to serve?
Yeah, it's a tough market to serve because there are so many options today for adult learners. We have transitioned our undergraduate adult program for those coming back to school to what we call Friends Flex, and that provides a good amount of flexibility. It's online, but they can, they can come in person and connect with a faculty member if that's what they'd like to do. But we do offer all of that online, and it's a challenge because particularly in this area, the unemployment is low. I mean, and jobs are plentiful. And so, maybe I don't need to finish my degree to move up at the company like I did several years ago. So that's been a tough market. But we also have our master's program, and that is offered online and in person. And there we're attracting many more international students that are looking to continue on with their education. So we have tried to be flexible with these learners and provided good degree pathways for adults. And yet I would just say it's a lot of competition in that space. And I think people know that can be difficult, but so far we're still maintaining enough traction there that we're continuing on with those programs.
Now,
and growing. We've been able to grow our master's program, so that has been positive for us.
Outstanding.
Do you have so just a little bit of nuance? Your classes are 8 weeks long, right? For Friends Flex?
Yes.
And do you have one track or two tracks? Do you have one track of 8 weeks, or do you have them running simultaneously? Do you know off the top of your head?
You know what? I think they could do two tracks if they wanted to. Not very many people do.
Yes,
they usually
exactly.
just take one course and then another course. And we go all the way through the summer. So it's continuous throughout. And we have different start times. So people can pick it up. We've got a new start time March 10th. So they can pick that up and start at any time. Almost. So that's helpful for the adult learner as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to kind of take this bit and transition to a little bit of change management and change leadership. But for many schools, taking something that exists on the traditional calendar and knocking it, I always say it's like knocking it off its track and creating a new pathway, right? Having 8-week courses, whether they're on a standard academic year or a non-standard term. Non-standard term is great for students because they get packaged with borrower-based academic year financial packaging, which follows the learner rather than the length of the term, which is, better for the student, not necessarily for the school because you're only collecting money as the student progresses. So it's actually harder. You got to keep them going. But it does create more intake periods. And that is one of the big secrets for serving an adult learner population is you have to have more opportunities for that student to start because they might go out and they might come back and they might go out and they might come back. So it makes it more complicated for schools to offer the courses, but the in-out of the adult learner is more common than uncommon. So that frequency of start date really matters a lot in order to have that student progress. And like you said, through the summer, sometimes you say that to a school and it breaks brains. It literally breaks brains to say through the summer. And everybody goes, well, we don't work during the summer. And it's like, well, students don't want to stop because you're not working during the summer. They want to continue on with their education. We have to give them the ability to do so. So that brain-breaking process is not easy as a college president to get people on board with something like this. You're talking major transformation. Can you talk a little bit about what your secret sauce has been in the 10 years you've been president? By the way, you're taking the 10-year average up, so that's nice. You're helping with the average going up. What's been your secret to change leadership, change management on your campus?
Well, when I came to Friends University, we were at a point where we needed a serious turnaround financially and in identity. We really didn't know who we were as an institution. Friends University has a Quaker history and Christian heritage. And so trying to understand, you know, are we going to live into that Christian mission or not? And so the board had made a decision prior to my coming that we were going to continue to live into our Christian mission and really reinforce that, revitalize our Christian mission as well as the university financially. And so we've been all about change since I've come to Friends University. And I think when you're in trouble like that, and at the time, there wasn't anyone that really here on campus knew how to get Friends out of that situation. Many of the leaders were interim persons. A number of the administrative and leadership team had left the university. So there wasn't anyone to lead us out of that. So when I was brought in, and my dissertation work is all on turnaround schools.
Really?
I was fascinated with that. And so we began what we call the revitalization and growth plan. And so we've been...
Is that like a strategic plan, but you named it for those specific pieces?
It wasn't a full strategic plan. It was a short-term plan because we didn't have time to spend a year thinking about all the different goals and strategies, putting sticky notes up on a wall. I mean, we didn't have that kind of time.
Right.
We had to make some decisions and make those decisions quickly because we were hemorrhaging money fast, and we needed to make some tough decisions, and we did. But we also knew that we couldn't cut our way to success, that we had to also add things, grow, move resources to different other areas so that we could expand. And so I would say that we've been pretty innovative and nimble since that time. And I have a team here and faculty really who have been on this journey with me. And understand that we don't want to be back in that situation, right? And we talk about that, that we've got to continue to do things differently. So one of the things that we put on the list a long time ago is to be a 12-month campus. In that way that we're having programming over the summer. We've been expanding our offerings in the summer for our undergraduate students, but not just at the undergraduate level, at all levels, and bringing more camps and groups on campus, because we did virtually nothing before I came. And, like many campuses, you need revenue in the summer as well. So that's been a transition that's happened over time, I would say, just in general. And we are a smaller institution, so that we can be a little bit more nimble. We use that word a lot, nimbleness. And I think I really believe that those who are nimble will survive. I think as we look at the demographic cliff coming, and maybe it's upon us right now, there will be winners and losers. And we've determined we're going to be one of the winners. And we've got a plan for the demographic cliff so that we continue to be nimble and innovative and take advantage of opportunities when we have that chance to do so.
I like that.
You use a lot of market-based language, Amy, I'm noticing. You talk about markets and competition and revenue. And in higher education, that's not always the case. I think it's becoming more common, which I love because I believe my dissertation work was around student consumerism, right? The rise of the student consumer. And it's really true, right? Because we see the student has so many options and they can go here or there. I mean, they just have so much buying power now. And we as a university used to have all that leverage, and now we have none of it. So we have to be different in unique ways. But you use a lot of that business type of language. How does that play with the university? Has it been 10 years and everybody's realizing it? Is it still where you're training people a little bit at a time with the business language?
Well, I have been accused of being all about money.
You, along with every other college president. Yeah.
And all about the business. However, we have to have some margin, and we have to be able to, we work towards a break-even budget every year, and we do that year over year. But, I've explained this many times to our faculty and staff, just the importance of understanding what's at stake in private higher education. There are a lot of headwinds that are coming towards us, and we have to be able to respond. And we're just not in the place anymore where we can just say, well, we do wonderful, good things, and everyone should know that, and they should send their children to Friends University, or adults should come to Friends because of all the wonderful things that we've done for many, many years. And it's just, we've lost that kind of overall just general appreciation for all the good things that we do in higher education. And I would say right now, politically, whether it's Democrats or Republicans, we're getting pressure from both sides.
All angles.
Whether it's cost or amount of debt per student, value for education, value what people are paying for their education, and just an ongoing promotion of do we really need the college degree? Does everyone need to get the college degree? So all of those things compound themselves on top of one another, and then we've got inflation and a variety of other factors. So I'm always sharing that with the faculty and staff, but it doesn't always play as well as I wish it would. But I keep going anyway.
Well.
Tell them like it is.
It's sometimes it's amazing, right? Because even if you're year over year budget neutral, your expenses are going up because utilities are going up 3 to 5% a year because of inflation. So even if you say, let's just do as well as we did last year, this year, you have to do percentages better, which means you have to increase your population, which means that you strategically set a tuition and that you're asking your students to pay it. And that's not being all about the money, it's being all about the business. And we know, and I know but it is still shocking how many people are pushing back on the business side of this, which, I don't care if you're a for-profit, nonprofit, private, public, you have state funding, you have tuition dependent. If you don't have more revenue than expenses, then eventually your savings account, it's like easy to think about when it's your own personal bank account, right? And a whole lot harder sometimes when it's the business. But if you are spending more than you make, eventually your credit cards will all max out and you have no money. You have to declare bankruptcy. And that's what we don't want colleges and universities to do. And that's why talking about the business is so critical, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. And I think probably because we were in this situation of, losing quite a bit of money year over year and needed to take some pretty dramatic action, that I have a firm grip on our budget and our finances. And I don't apologize for that, because I know what it's like to get out of a situation where you're really in the hole. The challenge now is that we've got a number of people who are newer to Friends University, and they don't remember that like we, some of us do. And so there's still enough, around that remember the days when it was pretty chaotic and concerning, and people wondering about their jobs. But we haven't been in that place for quite a few years. We were able to balance the budget after year 3. So that history is fading away. And so how do you keep that momentum on the fact that, folks, we've got to stay tight on our budget and our finances. But we've had growth year over year. So in our student population. So that does provide a little bit of extra resource each year to accomplish some things. We've been able to build buildings and raise money to do that. So we've seen a lot of improvements as well. It's not just, okay, let's try to keep everything flat. But at the end of the year, we really need to balance that budget.
Yeah, so true. Complacency is the enemy of urgency. That's for sure, right?
That's right.
It's hard to drive urgency. It's hard to make people feel urgent when things aren't totally on fire. So you always have to communicate. I really love your advice there. Well, before we go to our subscriber only portion of this, I do want to ask you, Amy, what else you want to say about Friends University? Open mic, take a couple minutes. Tell us anything else that we need to know.
Well, I think I would go back to our turnaround situation. And I think more and more colleges and universities will be in this position and have to make some difficult decisions. And one of the things that we decided that was important to us is focus. We needed to focus on Wichita. We needed to win Wichita. We weren't getting as many students as I thought we should from this area. So we needed to win in Wichita. And sometimes there's all of these other things happening in maybe even in different places outside of, your locale. And, we had a camp and we had a variety of other facilities and things. We had to really focus. And so I think that's one thing that I think we have done well, is to understand our strengths and what works well for Friends University, and focusing on those things. And I think embracing our mission as a Christian university of Quaker heritage. The more that we have been clear about who we are as a university and share that with our students, it's not a bait and switch so that they don't know what they're getting involved in when they come to Friends University. That has really, really worked well for us. And what we're seeing across the country is that students are looking for this kind of education. Many of the Christian schools across the country this last year were up significantly. And I don't know if, what all the factors are, but there is a resurgence that's going on right now among our young people, and their interest in being in a place like Friends University. So we're encouraged by that, and we're going to continue to lean into our mission at Friends University.
I love it. Well, there you have it, everybody. Another amazing episode. We're going to bring Amy back and ask her about her 10 years of presidential leadership and maybe what she sees for the future of higher ed in the next subscriber-only portion. But right now, for our general audience, we want to thank her, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Amy Bragg Carey. She's the president at Friends University. Amy, we hope you had fun here on the podcast.
I did. Thank you so much.
Thanks for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, you've just upped.
Did you buy your tickets yet? Higher Education's first podcast conference is coming July 12th. Go to higheredpodcon.com, higheredpodcon.com. Get your tickets. Do you want to get exclusive early access to ad-free episodes, extended episodes, bonus episodes, original content, invites to special events, and more? Do you want to accelerate your professional development? Do you want to get all this while helping to sustain EdUp? Then go to edupexperience.com. That's EDUP experience.com and become a subscriber today.